We had talked about the issues to do with 2007, and Honorable Titus here had mentioned that you see, to some extent, we seem to be heading to that particular direction on exactly what was happening in 2007 in terms of how communities are actually aligning at this particular moment. Would we say history hasn't taught us anything as far as tribal politics are concerned?
No, we are just slow learners. I think that's what I can say. We don't learn very much from our experiences. We forget quickly. You know, the animal called the warthog is the one that forgets very quickly. It's being chased and then suddenly forgets and starts grazing right near there. we have a problem as a country. Let me say this even before I forget. The best president that Kenya never had would be from a small community. If Kenya were given a president from the smaller communities, the Kenya economy would be more stable, the politics of the country would be more stable, because they cannot, there's no way they can run the country down. They're more appreciative, they don't have an entitlement to it, okay? And I'm just advising people, if you ever decide to select a president to stabilize this country, go to the small communities. Get a Pokot, a Turkana, Somali, get from coast. Those guys have no capacity even to be corrupt. I was in cabinet as a minority. But if you look at it, if you are from a minority community, even if you wanted to fill the whole ministry with your people, you don't have them. You know? So if you're president, you'll actually balance the country. Okay. You'll get a minister from every community. I don't understand the mathematics, why you cannot say, for example, there are 47 counties. Why you can't make sure that if you have 22 ministers, where you stop that, those guys who have already got those positions should not also be represented in the principal secretaries or higher positions or diplomats or something like that. You balance the country. I think one of these days Kenyans will wake up to the fact, let's try this guy. Let's try somebody from a smaller community. But anyway, coming back to where we are now, two large communities decide to come together. Okay? The mountain moved. So William Ruto's chances of sustaining the balance has forced him to speak to the people he never thought he would speak to. Nyanza and ODM. And as my friends have said here, Daktari and Titus have said, so the reason why he has done that is because he wants to survive politically. It's political survival. If today Raila and his people decide to quit on William Ruto, this is finished. He cannot sustain himself. So it's very important that he sustains. That's why I believe it's very important for William Ruto that Raila wins the AUC chairmanship. Can you imagine if he loses AUC chairmanship and he comes home empty-handed? We can't afford that ourselves, all of us. So let's begin to behave as though we are one country. Right now, we do not have the luxury of saying let's become united, because it's politics. If the mountain moves, you must survive by going to Nyanza and give them as many positions as they want. If you don't give them the positions they want, and they withdraw their support, you are in serious trouble. In fact, it's become very difficult even for those of us who come from the Rift Valley, because the position we should get, we can't get now anymore. It's finished. Finished. You now have to give away all the positions.
So it's somehow, you know, messed with the math that... Okay.
It is very possible that the next 3 years of William Ruto can be very critical and very difficult years. Looking at what Gachagua has done, for example, Gachagua being dropped, we created a political animal out of somebody who was not even that significant. Okay. So he's now moved on to organize himself and rally the people of the mountain. Okay. Now, that's why, as Titus was saying, that's why now we must talk to somebody from that region. Okay. If possible, let's give him let's bring cabinet. Let's give them cabinet positions from the mountain so that they can we can split the mountain. And that's what's going to happen. And if, if it's possible, you cannot win if you don't have part of that mountain. The next election, you must have that. So now there's a rumor that the former president Uhuru Kenyatta is speaking with the current president. Why is that? Why would you remember how they treated him? They treated him very badly. But now, how come they now want to speak to him?
But you are in the political space. They say there's no permanent enemies in politics.
Yeah. So it's political survival. The next 3 years can be very critical because it informs what happens in 2027.
Okay. Honorable Lute, this something he's mentioned, and in terms of we created, you know, Gachagua seems to have been a creation of the Kenya Kwanza government itself. The kind of movement that he's actually presenting right now might not have been there if at all they decided to survive with him to the very end. But right now he seems to be giving them sleepless nights, and with the kind of wave that is coming out with from the Mount Kenya region, saying by in the coming years, next year we are going to give a direction to this particular region. And initially, when all this was happening, most of the leaders from this region said, you see, the region is intact. There's no division, there's no nothing. This person does not have the influence that he claims to have and all that. But if the events of the past few days are anything to go by, that is done. So how did a person that, quote unquote, was somehow not the favorite turn out to be a darling of the people?
Well, I think I can give an analogy of Gachagua and Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was created by the US to be able to manage some of the issues that were very small then. But then it moved beyond that and became a monster by itself, and starting to even hit the US that created it. And I think the same thing is happening to Gachagua. Gachagua would not have been known. He became a member of parliament only once, and after which he became the deputy president. What we see now from Gachagua after he been impeached, before Gachagua was impeached, Gachagua was not as popular as he is now. He's actually gotten sympathy, and he has created this sympathy for himself. He created it by himself. When he was impeached, I think Gachagua believed that he was a very strong person. He believed that the mountain was behind him and that the mountain was going to riot at the time when he was impeached. But he went out quietly. After the Senate made a decision, went to the courts and the decisions were made, there was no noise that came from anybody and the country moved on. But I think after which then people started to have the sympathy, and it's a political strategy, the sympathy forth that Gachagua has gotten. But for me, I don't think that will continue for a long period of time. Because now we've seen Uhuru coming back to become the king of the mountain. If you see the way Uhuru was received in Embu, and the way Uhuru was made an hero in Embu, it basically means that Uhuru has more votes, Uhuru has more control, Uhuru still has the faith of the Kikuyu people. Now we've got Gachagua and we've got Uhuru. Gachagua, popularity will continue because of the sympathy, but sympathy will not last for 3 years. Sympathy will go down after a short period of time. And again, Gachagua is in a K24 position, where if the courts declare that he was truthfully and rightfully impeached, then he's not even supposed to participate in any politics. So he will not be able to stand anywhere to give directions. He will just disappear the way Sonko disappeared with all his probably popularity. He will disappear the way this Kiambu guy disappeared. But Uhuru Kenyatta will still be there as long as Uhuru Kenyatta makes decision. And the reason why the president now is starting to speak with Uhuru Kenyatta, even when they were political enemies before, now they are becoming friends because of interest. And again, politics is all about interest. What interest do we have together now? If Uhuru Kenyatta believed in Gachagua and believed that Gachagua was persecuted, he will not be speaking to Ruto. Why is he now seeing that Gachagua, who he also know is not his political friend, has been incarcerated by Ruto, now is starting to speak to Ruto? That is the dynamics of politics. And so for me, I know Gachagua was really created by the Kenya Kwanza government. It was created just like Al-Qaeda was created by the US. He is now boomerang to start to hit this government. But its fire, I will say, the way we say at home, ni moto ya masagari. It will disappear, I'll tell you. But the one that we need to watch critically and carefully about the mountain is Uhuru Kenyatta. That is the person that will still make decisions. And if he decides to support Ruto, then Ruto will still have a lifeline mountain. If he decides not to, then I think Ruto will still have it difficult.
A difficult time?
In mountain.
In the mountain or in the country?
In the mountain first. Okay. Because like my senior said, you have to have a slice of the mountain to be able to win politically.
So if he doesn't have that particular slice, then...
no, he will still win, but if you want to be comfortably winning, you have to have a slice of the mountain.
Dr. Hassan, on the issue of how did we create Rigathi Gachagua to be a force in the Mount Kenya region? And is this particular wave that you're actually experiencing likely to end in the next few days?
No, I think Rigathi Gachagua is still praying, and we are hoping that God will accept his prayers, in that the courts clear him and probably make him relevant in the society. Okay. But if the court doesn't clear him, meaning the process that our members of parliament have taken is affirmed by the court, then I think he will no longer be an issue in political arena. That's how it goes. Okay. People might clap for you at the moment as we continue fighting for your clearance. But there are two critical issues which has emerged. One, Gachagua was, immediately he came into the office, he started repenting, or rather revenging. And his revenge didn't go very far. Okay. He went direct to the former president. Okay. And therefore, we have not seen anywhere where the former president and Rigathi Gachagua have been called together to apologize or negotiate on the mistakes that they have done to each other, because they both actually did a lot to each other. And that's why before Rigathi Gachagua reacted, Rigathi Gachagua went through hell. The fact that he was in UDA and opposing Raila, who was a choice for the former president. And that created a lot of, unpopularity. Do I call it unpopularity for the former president? Because the mountain then revolted and they all voted for UDA. Okay. That was good until that moment. But when the divorce occurred, in the mountain, there is a great confusion. There are people who feel like, yes, we have given you, so regardless of whether our son does A, B, C, D, we have the right to be in this government, and you can't shake us. So the UDA government or the president will have just find a way of taming Rigathi Gachagua while he is still in his position as a deputy president. Right. But when he was ousted out of the position, reaction occurred. But the reaction wasn't that resistive. It is a reaction that just showing that we are no longer with UDA. The government continues with their own business until the second term. But in preparation for 2027, just know that we are not with you. And that's why we are showing you this significant resistance when you come to the region. And that's why we are following Gachagua. Okay. But the issue of Uhuru only comes in when these two people agree in common platform, where the Kikuyus or the people in the mountain are told that yes, we had a lot of disparity. There are no enemies in politics, as they always say, and therefore this was our former president. He is our leader, and Rigathi Gachagua will be supporting him. But so long as Rigathi Gachagua is also fighting for the supremacy, which in his belief, he still believes that he has the say in the mountain. And of course, that again gives him hope on the rally he made last week, where massive population came out to welcome him. But I think my thinking is that the fact that earlier on they disown the former president, it might not be very easy for them to just immediately absorb.
Okay.
But now the issue of reward, if the former president comes into negotiation with the current president, and politically he is rewarded at the moment, then there might be sanity in the mountain. Okay. But that does not translate it to the mountain voting him for 2027. Okay. The decision of who to vote in and the political landscape will only shape when we get closer to the election time, or when the coalitions are being formed. And most likely, Nyanza region is not a coalition for UDA. I don't think so. At any one time. It is just seasonal. For this period, they benefit from the current...
so do you believe in 2027 they might actually take a different direction?
100%.
All right.
100%. And they will still want to go and support another government.
Okay.
Their own government, basically.
Okay.
And again, as we earlier mentioned, Raila Amolo Odinga, if he doesn't secure the seat for AUC, then he will still fight for presidency. Okay.
I'm running out of time, and I want to give each one of you, a minute for your final remarks, and just tell us what's next for Kenya in terms of, the kind of direction you're taking, especially politically. But before we do that, let me just read Ruto allies plot how to win back Mount Kenya. And this is the thing. The Nation is reporting that after failing, the Standard, after falling out with the impeached deputy president, his impeached deputy, President William Ruto, has now devised ways to endear himself to the Mount Kenya region using secular and gospel artists from the central Kenya. The president and his allies hope to win the hearts of voters in the 11 counties in the region that former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is counting on to make a political comeback. The idea arose following a cold reception that Ruto and Gashagua's successor Kithure Kindiki received in Embu on November 16th when congregants booed the president as he explained his pet projects, the affordable housing program and the social health authority. This seems to be a plan to be able to win back the region. I don't know if it is going to work, but let me start with you, Honorable Pogisho, as we final remarks. What next for Kenya? A minute.
It's a very big question, a good question. What's next for Kenya? What's next for William Ruto? What's next for Raila Amolo Odinga, whatever? And then there's another team, which is we're not mentioning at the moment. There is a third force that's led by Kalonzo Musyoka here, waiting to be declared the official opposition, leader of the official opposition, since now ODM has moved to government. I think we need to develop a situation in the country where we stabilize by having a strong opposition. When everybody joins government, then we lose everything. There'll be no oversight. In fact, the members of parliament tried to run oversight and they're not able to do oversight. Let's begin by saying, how do we grow a bigger opposition than this? How do we get someone out of whatever is left after Raila has moved to government or whatever, to now stand and represent the opposition. And we wish that there would be a stronger team, and Kalonzo Musyoka has a chance now to grow himself into that position, but he has to kind of become a stronger, very reliable person. I also want to say this for the future of this country, which I'm saying. William Ruto has a chance of garnering the necessary votes to win a second term. But he has to play a different kind of politics. He has to abandon himself. These promises that he's making, he needs to go slow on promising, or even making it look like his promises are very important. He now needs to come back to how to deal with Kenyans in their suffering, in the economy which is not functioning, and come and deal with those matters first, and make sure he addresses those issues before he can think about 2027.
All right, Honorable Lose, a minute. What's next for Kenya?
Well, thank you. What next for Kenya is dependent on the 2.5 years that remains for us to go to the next election. I think the president has put his best foot forward. Politically, he's tried. He's actually tried to balance everything, even after we've gone through the worst part of our history during the Gen Z. Okay. He's balanced it, and actually now we're seeing politically the country is becoming a little bit balanced, despite the noises that are coming from Mount Kenya. What remains now is the common person can have trust or not have trust, or based on how the administration is going to handle their issues. And I would say the president has done the best for this country. But the problem is probably the people that is put into this office. We've seen a lot of mishaps that are done by the people that are in this office. If today Kenyans are complaining of high taxes, Kenyans are complaining about high cost of living, which might not be true, but they're complaining. The people that are given responsibility by the president are supposed to handle it in a manner that Kenyans feel that the president feels for them. Look, for example, today I've seen the gazettement of 578 administrative units, which are done politically. Because if a place like West Pokot, after giving all documents, you see that they have been sidelined in terms of this, and yet there are places that are given sub-counties where a commissioner can walk from his office by foot to the next place, and yet areas such as West Pokot, where a commissioner needs to take probably a whole day to reach the other place, they are not given. It basically means that Kenyans are being told this government does not belong to you, and so the administrators that are leading this country can either give the president a limelight for the next time, or can also dim it.
All right. Yeah. Dr. San, I'm totally out of time. 30 seconds, kindly. What's next for Kenya?
First and foremost, I think it is good to know that as Kenyans, we are doing very well. Why? I prescribe to the fact that if we are peaceful, Kenyans can sleep even hungry.
All right.
The reason being,
so peace is very important.
Peace is an ultimate savior for all our things that we are doing. So long as we maintain that peaceful environment, we will try to salvage, even if we eat the greens in the natural forest. And we can continue. But the president has echoed several times issues related to expenditures and cutting costs of government expenditures. But we don't see that. The people he has appointed are still using gasless. The people they have appointed are still flying business class, and we are still generating administrative units, which I don't prescribe to the value of administrative units, because the more we have administrative units, the more we become people who look at things from a small perspective. I think America has countries, but all of them are called states, and there are only how many states? 50. And we are having 47 states, and we are yet 50 million people only. And America is 500 million people. So I think to conclude is that let's prescribe to what we say. The government should ensure the guidelines and the policies that have been put in place must be prescribed.
Thank you so much, sir. Totally out of time, and yes, John Kasavuli here is about to thank you so much for trusting us to bring you up to speed with what you're waking up to this particular meeting. Of course, I've been speaking to Dr. Isaac Hassan. Thank you so much for making time. Honorable Samuel Pogisho, thank you so much for coming. And of course, MP Kachiliba, who is Honorable Titus Lute, thank you so much for coming. And of course, he's doing a good job when it comes to representing the people that you're actually representing, right?
Representing me?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you so much. That does it for us this particular morning. Up next is Morning Vibe with Remy Majala.
Have you watched K24?